It is that time again for another tier list. Today we are going through the LEC top laners for the 2022 season. I don't know exactly how many of these are 100% confirmed, announced by the teams on Twitter or officially, or how many contracts are done or anything like that. But at this point, we do have, the 10 starting top laners for the LEC in 2022, mostly rumored, mostly official, mostly finalized. And I'm going to be running through them today, putting them into this little tier list. I do think that top lane is probably the weakest position in the LEC. I think it's overall one of the weakest positions in the West. The LEC has some good ones. We have some big names coming back, some big names being gone from last year, but this should be a fun tier list to make. As always, I am going to give my thoughts and opinions, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions as well, but don't be an asshole. These are just opinions. No one knows who's going to do good in 2022. No one knows what's going to happen, so I would love to hear what you think, but don't flame me. Don't flame anybody else. Give your opinions. That's fine. That's cool. But come on, be a normal human being, please. With that being said, let's get right into this. At the bottom, I'm going to be starting off in the C tier. I don't think there's any F tier top laners. I don't think there's anyone so disgustingly egregious that they don't belong in the LEC. And even the guy I'm starting out with, Gen X in the C tier, I don't think he's that bad. I think Gen X is okay. I think he's had good moments. I think he's going to be okay for SK in 2022, but you can't have everybody rated high. Somebody's got to be last. Somebody's got to be at the bottom. To me, it's Gen X. He's okay. I think overall SK is going to struggle. I think their lineup isn't that good. I think their team isn't that good. But Gen X was okay. He had some big moments. I remember, last year, like some big pop-off Urgot games and stuff like that. He's a talented player, but he's just kind of okay. He has some moments here and there, not super consistent, not a crazy consistent carry. And again, a team game. I think SK is going to be one of the weaker teams in the league. That's going to make it harder for you to stand out, harder for you to play well consistently. So good luck to him. But I am starting out in the C tier with Gen X. Next up in the B tier, I could see this guy a high C tier, but I'm going to put him low B. I'm going with Finn. His time in the LEC didn't end too well with Rogue 2 years ago. Last year he was on CLG and things didn't go that great, but I think he stood out a little bit on CLG. Yes, it was just an NA. Yes, it was on CLG who sucked. Yes, there's a lot of things that maybe aren't super promising. But I think this guy has some talent. He has some potential. And I think this Excel team is honestly going to be pretty decent. I mean, when you look at the players on their roster, I think they have a chance to actually do some things this year. And I think Finn's going to help them out. I think Finn is an upgrade over Kryze. I think he's going to come to this team, and I think he's going to surprise some people. I know that I'm a little bit higher on Finn than a lot of other people are. I'm not trying to overrate him. I'm just saying, when I watch CLG games, Finn actually stood out to me as a player who had somewhat of a concept of what was going on when a lot of the other members on CLG didn't. But I get it if you're skeptical. I get it if you're wary, whatever. But again, this is just my thoughts and opinions going into the year. I think Finn is going to be okay. I think he's going to be decent. Now, again, I'm putting him as a 9th best top laner. It's not like I'm rating him super, super high. I have him as low B tier, but I think he could be okay. Next up, I am going to be going with Mr. White Knight from Astralis. This guy has like the best name in competitive League of Legends. I don't know why it won't let me move him. There we go. In 2021, he was a highlight, a shining spot for Astralis. And yes, people were very, very high on him. He had some pop-off moments. He had like a pentakill in one game. He carried some games. He helped Astralis win some games for sure. I have some questions about how well he'll be able to do again. I also have a lot of questions about the Astralis lineup in general, which again is going to make things tougher for him. Good luck to him. We'll see how he's able to do. I feel like people may have him overrated a little bit. I know he has some talent. I know he's a good player, but we'll see how it goes. I have him in B tier. I think he's solid. I think he's decent, but I don't think he's maybe as good as some other people are saying. I feel like overall, a lot of the European top laners are kind of overrated in some ways. White Knight, he has moments. He's fun to watch. He'll probably be one of the bright spots of Astralis again this season, and again, a team that doesn't have a lot of bright spots overall, but I have him in the B tier. Next up, I'm going with Hear It in the B tier as well. This guy, he's good. He has some big games for Misfits. He carried some games for sure. He helped them, achieve a lot of the success they did last year. But still, he's not super consistent. Even though he has some massive carry games, he had some like weeks where he was looking really, really hot a couple weeks in a row. And then just like weeks at a time, I felt like he would kind of disappear. I wouldn't hear about him as much. I wouldn't see him popping off in games as much. I wouldn't see as many consistent big moments from him. At his best, he's good. He's probably like an A tier top laner at his best, but I wish we saw his best a little bit more consistently, and I really wish that from a lot of the Misfits players. I think however well here it does in the top lane in this next split is going to be a large defining factor of, how good Misfits as a team is overall in 2022. I think he's going to be pretty middle of the pack. I think he's going to be pretty meh. I have him as B tier. And then finally, at the top of the B tier, this one might be a little controversial as well. I have Adam. I think Adam was good last year for Fnatic. I think he's a young, inexperienced player who at times made young and inexperienced plays. Obviously, there's a ton of talent here. There's a ton of promise. There's a ton of potential. At his best, he was popping off. He had, that game 5 Darius pick against G2, against Wonder, where he solo killed him like 3 or 4 times, it seemed like, to send Fnatic to Worlds. That was awesome. That was hype. That was exciting. But again, we have to look at, the body of work as a whole, where Adam, he had some good moments. He had some bad moments. He played on a very good Fnatic team with a lot of veterans, a lot of talent, a lot of help. And now that he's going to BDS, I don't think things are going to be as easy. I think he's going to, those kind of rookie moments, those ints, those over-aggressive plays, those deaths that you just can't have, those deaths you just can't make, I think they're going to be punished harder on BDS this year. I think he's going to be exposed a little bit more. I still think this guy is, one of the future stars of the LEC, especially as a top laner. But I think we might see, a little bit of a regression this year. Massive downgrade in overall roster talent going from Fnatic to BDS. I think Grabs is going to work with him. He's going to help him out a ton. I think that's going to be awesome. But I don't want to overrate Adam too much too quickly. I have him at the top of my B tier. Next up, going into the A tier, I have Arma. I know in the past I've gotten in a lot of arguments with people about Arma. I know there's a lot of Mad Lions fans who are like, oh, Arma is the best top laner in the LEC. He's one of the best top laners in the world. He has all this talent, blah, 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 blah. This guy's good, but he's not great. He's not consistently great. He has issues. I've seen random laning phases where he will, go down a ton of CS, and Mad Lions was a good team, so they'd be able to battle back. They were awesome at team fighting, and Arma was a part of that, so they would keep themselves in games, they would hang around, and they'd give themselves an opportunity to make a big play or whatever. But this is the same thing where I think if Arma was on a worse team, those laning phases where he's down 30 CS, if his team wasn't good around him, that would just turn into like a 20-minute loss. Now, Mad Lions was a good team. It allowed him to fight back into some games, and he had to make the plays to get back into some of those games, and he's a great team fighter. He has some good things, but he has some flaws as well. And I think overlooking those flaws or you not taking a look at that just because he had a good team around him that was kind of patching some of the holes or covering for some of his mistakes, I think is a little disingenuous. And that was the problem I had with Arma and Arma fans and Mad Lions fans in 2021. Gotten a lot of arguments about this player. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. I think he's a little bit overrated. I don't know. It seems like a lot of the Turkish players just have a very, very rabid fan bases and get overrated overall. I know. I just got a comment that I always underrate Turkish players, and it's like, no, I just be realistic with them. I give my honest thoughts and opinions. Arma's good, but do I think he's like world-class tier? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He has too many flaws he needs to work on. A lot of the times he was just playing Gnar and Wukong, and playing for team fights, and he's good at that, but he's not like an all-inclusive dominant top laner that teams like at Worlds were like scared of or anything. No, he's an A tier in the LEC. He's good. He's not great. Next up in the A tier, I wanted to go with Odoamna. Odoamna, another guy who, he kind of fit the rogue mold in some ways, very good in the regular season. Very, very good. But come playoff time, come the big games, come Worlds, didn't really show up, didn't really take it to that next level. And if I'm going to put somebody, on a higher tier, I need them to, I don't care as much about the regular season, especially in domestic leagues. Nobody cares about the regular season. We want you to show up in the big games, in the playoffs, and at international tournaments. That was the issue Rogue had, not being able to show up in any of those moments. That's kind of the problem that Odoamna has as well. I don't know if he just kind of rides the momentum of his team or if he's part of the choking issues or whatever. I think this guy's good, but just like a lot of the top laners in the LEC, he has some good qualities. He has some bad qualities. He needs to work on those negatives and stuff to become a full, consistent threat of a top laner. And obviously, Rogue losing Inspired, losing Hans Sama. I think their team's a little bit worse this year. I think it's going to make it a little bit harder for Odoamna. He's going to have to get used to a new jungler, all these things. I'm I'm keeping my expectations, tempered. I have him in the A tier right now. That's where I'm at. Next up in the A tier, I have BB. I am a huge, huge fan of BB. I'm so excited for him to be going to G2. I think he's going to be a great fit at G2. His personality, his brand, his content, just him on the camera is electric. I think it's going to be awesome with G2. I also think it's going to bring, a style that G2 needs. They're going to want to play around Caps and BB, their solo laners, a lot. And I think, Flockhead is from what I've heard, a weak side AD carry who wants to kind of scale, play for late, all that stuff. I think that's going to fit really, really well. They're going to give BB a chance to, I'm sure, play aggressive, play crazy, play a huge different variety of champions. Something that G2 is always known for. I think he's going to do great. Now, he looked good on Schalke last year, he looked good on Schalke in the summer. I was thinking Schalke's gone, but no, he was still in Schalke in the summer. Things didn't go well for Schalke, so, he kind of stood out on a bad team. He had good individual performances, but he didn't win a lot of games, so, it's hard to tell exactly where things are at, but I do think, he was good in TSM, he was good in NA. He took a big step up in the LEC so far. Is it because he's actually getting better? Is it because the LEC doesn't have that great of top laners? Has something really clicked for him? Is he ready to, be great? We'll see. I'm rooting for him. I think he's a top 3 top laner in the LEC for sure. But again, in G2, you don't just need to be great in the regular season. You don't need to be great on a 10th place team. You need to be competing for titles. You need to have good MSI performances, good world performances. I don't know if BB's there yet. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. Hopefully we get to find out this year. Finally, at the top of the A tier, I'm going to be putting Wonder. Now, these top laners in EU are all so hard for me. If you put Wonder S tier, you put BB, you put Odo, you put Arma, you put any of those guys S tier, I wouldn't argue with you too much. But, it's differentiating between these guys is really, really hard. Wonder obviously has the greatest body of work. He obviously has the best resume. At his best, he's definitely better than these other 4 guys. But in 2021, Wonder really wasn't better than these guys. He was kind of up and down. He was kind of inconsistent. And that was even playing on a pretty talented G2 roster. Now, headed into 2022, I'm absolutely not counting Wonder out. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's going to be reinvigorated. I think he wants to prove to people that he can still be great. I also think he's going to a pretty stacked Fnatic roster that has a chance to do some very, very awesome things. I think him and Razork are going to be a nasty combo. I think a motivated Wonder is a scary Wonder. And in 2022, we're really going to see, is Wonder washed up? Or did he get comfortable in G2? Did he get complacent? Is he going to come out hungry and popping off? Or is he still going to suck? We'll have to see. But again, I'm not counting him out. I think he's going to bounce back strong. But I need to see him bounce back strong first before I'm ready to put him in the S tier. And finally, the man atop the list, the only man that I have in the S tier for the LEC top laners is going to be Alfari. I think this guy's an absolute beast. The meme is like the CSD king, but this guy is great. He is good in lane. He is good in team fights. He, plays a wide variety of champions. He kind of does whatever the team needs him to do. He can play strong side. He likes to play strong side. He can play weak side. Maybe he's not as good at it, but I think he is going to be a perfect fit for the Vitality team. I think the LEC is very, very lucky to have him back. I think the LCS was very, very lucky to have him while we did. He pushes everyone to be better. His style of laning, his ability to lane is really not like anything else we see in the West from really any other players. He is the best laner in the West, top, mid, AD carry, whatever. And he does make everybody better. He's going to make his teammates better. He's going to make the rest of the LEC better. I really think he's kind of a class above everyone else right now. And pairing him up with Selfmade, pairing him up with Perks, that's going to be fun to watch, and I really think he's going to have a big, big season. I was very impressed with him on TL. Obviously, there's a lot of different stuff going on behind the scenes with TL that maybe affected his team's performance, his personal performance. But at the end of the day, he still stood out to me very, very strongly, and I think he's going to do the same in 2022. But there it is. There's my LEC top lane tier list for the 2022 season. Definitely drop a like if you guys did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about my list, what I get right, what I get wrong, and what does your tier list look like? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to today and all my latest content. Hope to catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.